Serenity Valley Stories introduces Echoes in the Empty Halls. The dorm was eerily quiet. It was my first winter break alone on campus, a decision I made without much thought. My roommate, Natalie, had begged me to come home with her, but I convinced her I'd be fine. After all, how scary could it be? I'd have the whole place to myself. I unpacked my bag and settled into my bed, relishing the rare solitude. But as I sat there, the emptiness of the dorm began to sink in. The familiar buzz of laughter and footsteps that filled the halls was absent, replaced by a heavy, suffocating silence. The first night was uneventful, though I struggled to fall asleep. The wind howled outside, rattling the old windows in their frames, and I could hear the faint creaks of the building settling. I told myself it was just an old structure groaning against the cold. But in the back of my mind, a gnawing unease began to take root. On the second night, I heard it, a faint whispering, like the rustling of paper or distant voices carried on the wind. It was almost imperceptible, but it was there, just beyond the edge of hearing. I sat up in bed, straining to listen, but the sound stopped as abruptly as it started. I laughed it off, telling myself it was just my imagination. The winter chill must have been playing tricks on me. But then I noticed something strange. The air in my room had changed. It was cold, colder than it should have been, and there was a smell, faint, like something sweet, yet rotten, that lingered at the edge of perception. I tried to ignore it, burying myself under the blankets, but sleep came reluctantly. The next morning, I went about my day as usual, but a sense of dread hung over me like a dark cloud. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The whispers returned that night, clearer now, and closer. I could make out words, but they didn't make sense, just fragments of sentences, spoken in a low, guttural voice. My heart pounded in my chest, and I pulled the covers up to my chin, feeling like a child again, hiding from the monsters under the bed. But the monster wasn't under my bed. It was in the room with me. That night, the smell grew stronger, cloying, like decaying flowers mixed with something else, something foul and damp. I gagged as I inhaled it, pulling my shirt over my nose to block out the stench. The whispers had turned into a low, continuous murmur, as if someone, or something, was pacing around my bed. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my phone and texted Natalie, my hands shaking. "Can you call me? Something weird is happening here." The phone rang almost immediately. I answered, desperate to hear a familiar voice, but all I heard was static, a crackling, hissing sound that sent chills down my spine. I yanked the phone away from my ear and ended the call, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. "Get it together, Sarah," I whispered to myself, trying to calm down. But my reflection in the mirror across the room told me otherwise. My face was pale, eyes wide with fear. And then, as if in response to my fear, the temperature in the room plummeted. I could see my breath in the air, each exhale a puff of white mist. The murmuring stopped, replaced by a single, drawn-out word, spoken so close to my ear that I could feel the breath on my skin. "Leave!" I screamed, bolting upright in bed. But there was no one there, nothing but the lingering echo of that one word, hanging in the icy air. I grabbed my keys and ran out of the room, not stopping until I was outside in the snow, my heart racing and tears streaming down my face. The campus was deserted, the empty buildings looming over me like silent sentinels. I looked back at the dorm, half expecting to see something, someone, in the window, but there was nothing. Just the dark, empty room where I had been moments before. I spent the night in a study lounge, huddled under a blanket with the lights on, too afraid to close my eyes. Every creak and groan of the building set my nerves on edge, but I refused to go back to that room. Not after what had happened. The next morning, I packed my bags. I couldn't stay there another night, not with whatever was in that room. I told the RA that I was going home early, but she barely acknowledged me, more concerned with her own plans. I didn't care. I just needed to get out. Before I left, I stopped by the registrar's office. "I need to transfer," I told them, my voice trembling. As soon as possible. They looked at me with confusion, but I didn't offer an explanation. How could I? They wouldn't believe me if I told them the truth. As I drove away from campus, I felt a strange mix of relief and fear. The whispers were gone, the air felt warm again, and the smell had vanished. But deep down, I knew that whatever haunted that dorm wasn't just a figment of my imagination. It was real, and it had driven me away. I never looked back, never told anyone the full story. But sometimes, late at night, I think I hear the faintest echo of that voice, whispering, calling, reminding me that I had escaped, but only just. And I wonder if, one day, it will find me again. Thank you for listening to Serenity Valley Stories, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.